visible fecal material is not to enter the chilling totes and the barrels on any of the feet, any of the organs, any of the whole birds. So to identify the fecal contamination, 3 factors, color, consistency, and composition, are essential for identifying fecal material on the inside or outside of the poultry carcasses and their giblets. The color of feces ranges from various shades of yellow to green to brown and white. The consistency of feces is characteristically semi-solid to paste. The composition of feces may or may not include plant material, and the color of ingesta varies with the diet of the birds. So that feels like we know poop isn't purple. It does really talk about differentiating between ingesta and fecal contamination. To me, they both go to rework. They both, whether it's crop contamination or fecal contamination, needs to go to rework. They don't have the regulations around the fecal material going into the chiller, you know, with crop juice. They do not care about that as much. It is not a condemn everything in your cooler if they go through there. So I think they're trying to really just differentiate between this ingesta. I still care about it. I still want it to go to rework, whether it comes out of the crop or whether it comes out of the intestines. But the consistency of the ingesta is characteristically solid or granular. Digestive fluids are sometimes present. And this is really clear with a full crop, and we really do not see this much. We do see, you know, this leakage of fecal material, but we do not see full crops if the birds are in fact withheld from feed. Or they're like, what do you call it?
Impacted.
Yes, impacted. So it's rare, but that ingesta is not fecal material. It's still contaminatory, but it's not treated the same way within regulatory world. So this is the procedure for examining the carcasses for fecal contamination. We look at the outside of the back while holding the carcass with the back towards the inspector and starting at the hock area. Observe the hock, back part of the legs, the tail area, the back of the carcass, the top and the side of the wings. You have to look at the outside front. You have to turn the carcass and observe the bottom side of the wings, the breast and the front part of the legs. You have to look inside the carcass. That abdominal flap and fat, especially the way we do the cut, is a high risk area. And then the neck flap, you have to observe the neck flap and the thoracic inlet area. And if you see visible fecal material, you isolate the contamination and the bird, pull the organs, examine the giblets for fecal contamination. If there's no contamination present on the liver, heart, or gizzard, it can be harvested. If there's any fecal contamination present, the liver, heart, or gizzard, they need to be put in the inedible bin with the rest of the viscera. The bird is removed from the shackle and taken to the reconditioning station. At the reconditioning station, the fecal matter is trimmed and rinsed. The birds are then dipped in a barrel of PAA at a concentration of 250 parts per million for at least 60 seconds. After the wait time for the PAA, the birds are hung back on the line to be inspected. Lungs, trachea removed, rinsed, dipped, and chilled. The concentration of the barrels and hose is checked with a test strip at the beginning, once throughout the processing day and the end, and recorded on the pre-operation and operational log. And if fecal material is present on tabletop tools or shackles, the area where the bird was located is examined for contamination, and if present, the material needs to be removed and the area sanitized. The knife is inspected for fecal contamination. If present, the knife is rinsed and sanitized in the 180-degree water for 2 to 3 seconds. The temperature and cleanliness of the 180-degree water is checked at the beginning and once throughout the processing day, recorded on the operational log. If a shackle becomes contaminated, it needs to be wiped or rinsed, sanitized. If fecal contamination soils your apron, you need to rinse it off without contaminating other carcasses or food contact surfaces. If fecal contamination soils your arms or hands, you need to wash them. There's contaminants from the ceiling dripping down onto either food contact surfaces that's going to contaminate the places where the birds are going to sit, or the birds themselves. Whenever there's a bunch of temperature variations, you get condensation. That's just what happens. And so, like, this is a spot here where we have drips on this ceiling. And this is not a food contact surface. Where it's going to land is not a food contact surface. But so this would be a concern if we're bringing birds out through this door. Or any kind of raw meat, and anything up there would be dripping onto them. So what we need to do is just be, look up, before we're going to be, passing meat through sensitive areas that we know are a problem, like it's between the cooler and the other room, or up where the hose drips, or you know, if there's any wet spots in the cooler, you got to be aware of what they, you know, looking up. That's what these little handy dandy things are for. We wipe so that it doesn't drip. We wipe so it doesn't drip. And move them in and out.